Did you work jobs?
Oh, did I work jobs? Yeah, I worked loads
Well,
of
like
jobs.
retail jobs and stuff, yeah?
Oh, no, what, fast food jobs?
Okay,
Yeah.
fast food jobs, yeah.
I did 6 months in the McDonald's drive-thru. I worked 3 years in a pret-a-manger store in Luton Airport making sandwiches. So if you guys
Luton
ever...
Airport as well, that's a proper shithole.
If you ever...
Sorry.
Oh, terrible. No, you're completely right. So if you ever fly from Luton Airport, just before you get to the departure gates, the ones on the left
I know
anyway,
exactly what you're talking about,
there's a big pret-a-manger store. When that first opened, I was one of their first members of staff at 15 years of age. I worked there for 3 years making sandwiches. So I've done the horrible jobs and I've done the fast food jobs. And it's those jobs, the real selling your time for money hour by hour, that teaches you the value of things. Even now, I jokingly laugh with Andrew when I buy things. I don't know what the numbers are, but I'll calculate like how many hours would I have had to work in that job to buy, say, the Bugatti. And it's something crazy like 310 years of constantly working at that sandwich shop. No hours off, no days off. So we're talking at 4 human lifetimes.
Did you have any side hustles whilst working those jobs?
You know what? No, I didn't, because my effort wasn't wasted, though. I didn't waste my time because all of my spare effort went into kickboxing and kickboxing training. There were people at that store who were breaking rules of the store, obviously, when you're allowed to take sandwiches home. They were selling them and stuff, but that could get you fired. And I was like, well, why sell sandwiches? I'll just go to the kickboxing gym. I'm making enough money. So it wasn't a side hustle, but I certainly wasn't wasting my time. When I preach to young men now, if you're working a job and you go home, no TV, don't play video games, limit your access to all sort of junk media. Spend your time doing something productive. At least my kickboxing was something productive, even though it did. I guess it made me some money. I got paid to fight. So I guess that was a side hustle, but I learned so much more from that than I ever made financially. It wasn't a financial venture.
This is what I'm interested to know, because at the point where you're now working for someone else in retail, fast food, whatever the case may be, and then previously also having businesses, it's like, did you ever think to yourself, why am I here? I had this business. If I continued at it or started another business, I could be elsewhere. Did you ever look at yourself in those jobs and think, like, this is not me, I don't belong here?
Yeah, I knew I was wasting my time. When I saw the caliber of some of the people doing the same job as me, some of them were very nice people, some of them were not, but I will not pull my punches when I'm saying that a lot of them were morons, like absolute morons. People in their 30s who just achieved literally nothing with their lives, zero. And I'm sitting there and I know that I've got this big brain behind my young looking face. I'm sitting there making these sandwiches along with these idiots thinking, how is my time worth the same £6.90 an hour as his time? How am I using my body and mind to make these bloody sandwiches when people like this could be doing it? I should be manager. I should be running this place. I got a few promotions over the years, but my dream was never to manage a sandwich shop. So no, I quit for a sales job when I was about 19 for my first ever sales job.
What was the sales job?
I was selling television advertising space.
Oh, okay.
So I would find companies that didn't advertise on TV typically, call them up and try to arrange meetings with, higher up people in my company who could close them for me because I looked too young. That was my problem.
So it's like cold call sales?
Yeah, cold call sales, which teaches you a lot. You get hung up on a lot.
Yep.
And nowadays I find with youngsters and people of the younger generation, they're too afraid to make a cold phone call. It's a daunting thing. You don't know what they're going to say, but you learn the lessons. The worst they can say to you is no. And at least with sales, you're in some way working for yourself. I learned lots of harsh lessons actually at the sandwich shop and at McDonald's. I learned lots and lots of very harsh lessons that I still, I guess, helped form my opinions that I still preach today. So I'm very glad I did it because it makes me, some people think I'm alienated from them. The man who's working in McDonald's right now, who may be listening to this podcast, may think, oh, why would I listen to him? He's worth over $1 billion.
Might not seem relatable.
Yeah, he hasn't got anything in common with me. But I was the common man. I was the normal man. Even today, I describe myself as a poor man with lots of money. I don't describe myself I don't describe myself as a rich man because I'm not from their clubs. I didn't go to their universities. I'm not from their weird groups. I'm not in the Illuminati.
The money wasn't inherited.
No, absolutely not. So I made everything myself. So I'm glad I did those jobs. If I could turn back time till I was 15 years old, knowing everything I know now, at 15, I'd still work a year or two in McDonald's just to just to ground myself a bit more.
It's funny because though this podcast is all about business entrepreneurship and people going out their way to make their own businesses and, you know, create money for them own selves, I always recommend to people, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, to go and get a job in a specific place, something like Carphone Warehouse, where they learn the scale skills, they learn the customer service skills, they learn all these things that will transition into their business. Because I think in them places there's so much you can learn that you can't learn from starting a business at that age.
No, you're completely correct. And you also learn how to be a boss. I remember, I'll share with you a quick story from my prep days. So every single day there was a delivery of new goods, and it was heavy, like big, stacks of canned drinks, and the ingredients would come in massive tubs of mayonnaise and stuff. It weighed quite a lot. And a gentleman I used to work with was a big Slovak guy by the name of Blage. And the delivery was down a few flights of steps into the security office, because it was the airport. Everything had to be run through the security scanners. And you used to have to put it in a lift, bring it up, and bring it into the kitchen. And every single night, delivery would call, and every single night, if you were working the night shift, you had to go and lift all this heavy stuff into the elevator. So one day, Blage, I wasn't working, was working with 2 female members of staff on night shift, and the elevator broke. The elevator was broken. It happened in that airport. You know, the elevator's probably 30 years old at the service entrance.
Yep.
And the manager, I guess, told him, well, the goods have to come upstairs. They have to be refrigerated. And Blage, like a gentleman, I guess, and like an idiot, and I love him. He's still a friend. I still speak to him now. But back then, he certainly was an idiot. He was probably, 20 years old back then. He said, you know what, I'll carry it all up the stairs myself, because there were 2 female members of staff working. So he goes downstairs, picks up these heavy, 24 cans times 2. You're picking up 48 cans of drink at a time, running up these stairs. Took him 5 hours to complete the delivery. And he slipped a disc in his back. And when he slipped a disc in his back, he called in sick the next day. He called in sick the day after. And the manager, who I believe's name was Linda at the time, he complained to her saying, look, can I get sick pay for this? Because, I was injured at work doing this. And she was like, no, you can't. And he was like, why? Because when you are, first of all, initiated into any kind of crappy job, they train you how to do things.
Yeah.
So I remember signing a piece of paper where they train you how to lift things up.
Yep.
Bend your knees, lift through your back. And
Back
she was like, no, Blage, you signed this. So any lifting injuries you get are your own fault. He saved the day and saved the delivery and saved the entire inventory of stock. Tens of thousands of dollars, no doubt, worth of ingredients and drinks, etc., by carrying this all up 2 flights of steps by himself. Slipped a disc, and he was off work for maybe a month. They didn't pay him a single penny because he'd signed this stupid waiver saying, I know how to lift things. That's very different from what he was asked to do that night. And it just made me think, wow, big corporations don't actually care about you. They don't give a shit what happens to you. And it's what I tell people nowadays. That story resonates with me when I tell people, like, you're very dedicated to your job. Maybe you're a woman, you're very dedicated to your job, and you're thinking, I'm not going to have kids for the next 6 or 7 years because I'm going to fight for this promotion. If you die tomorrow, 99% of you listeners out there in normal jobs will be replaced in a week, and you'll be forgotten about in 2.
Yep.
Your presence will not be missed around the office. Your presence will not be missed in the kitchen, or on the food court, or in the customer service
Furthermore,
area.
they probably won't even realize that you've disappeared.
Exactly. Yeah. If you disappeared and didn't tell them, they'd be like, oh, well, he's just quit out of nowhere. So, don't give yourselves and don't give your heart and soul to these companies, because they have no heart and they have no soul. The business that I run, certainly the people who work for me, I don't even say work for me. I say work with me, because they have skills that I don't. And if one of them was injured in the workplace, or, I don't know, broke something that he owned that was company, I'm super cool about all of it. Because I don't get how you can rely on these people to keep the wheels turning, essentially, but then at the same time just throw them to the dogs when you need to. So big corporations don't care about you. Shout out to Blage if you're watching.